means it shoots a bullet that's about 58/100ths of an inch, just over half an inch. It would shoot a lead bullet, weighed 1.2 ounces of lead. And when it fired that bullet out of here, it was very slow muzzle velocity, about 950 feet per second. It was rifled, so it would send the bullet out in a spiral, just like the new rifled artillery. Okay. A lot of people want to know, when you fired this old thing, how far would that bullet go? Could you actually even hit anything with it? Well, prior to this time period in history, people were shooting round balls out of smoothbore guns. And the likelihood of you hitting much with that is very slim. But with this new rifled musket, they were very accurate. At 100 yards, a well-trained soldier could place 9 out of 10 rounds easily into a, say, 11 by 8 rectangle. Okay. At 1,000 yards, you could fire that bullet through 3 1-inch thick pine boards at 1,000 yards. Normal battle range was good up to about 500 yards. You had sights that flipped up from 100, 300 to 500 yards. It has a curious attachment that goes to it. Everybody knows what this is, bayonet. And we know that the bayonet is for, it's not for after dinner toothpick or anything. Okay, the bayonet was to stab enemy soldiers to death. If you look at this bayonet, this is a 3-sided or has 3 edges. Today's modern bayonets have 2 edges. Which do you think would be more deadly? 3. This would cause a wound that would be more likely to become infected and also less likely to heal. Okay, so it's much more deadly. Because of the Geneva Conventions, we have very humane ways of stabbing enemy soldiers to death. 2-edged blade. Now what we're going to do is load this thing and fire it. You have to remember how battles were fought back then. Battles were still somewhat formal affairs. We were using old tactics with new technology. Soldiers would be standing in a line, shoulder to shoulder to shoulder, in rows 2 or 3 deep. Across a battlefield, you would see the enemy standing in the same formation, maybe 100 yards or more away, depending on the battlefield. And because you were in such close quarters with everybody in this line, you had strict procedures that you had to use to load and fire this weapon. And soldiers drilled constantly just for this reason. And we'll go through these steps. Okay, there's 9 steps involved. First command will be to load, which time you place the weapon between your feet like so. The next command will be to handle cartridge. You reach in a cartridge box where you carried cartridges. Cartridges were basically paper tubes that were filled with gunpowder. They had the bullet from the bottom of the tube. These were pre-made, so the gunpowder was pre-measured. You knew about what you were getting every time for range and so on. The next command will be to tear a cartridge. Each time you just tear it at the top off. We'll be firing just a minute over in this direction, so y'all will work your way around. Okay. The next command will be to charge the cartridge, at which time you simply stand here and pour the gunpowder down the barrel. Now, what's something you would need to have to be a soldier during those days? Patience. Actually, 3 teeth. That's what you had.
Somebody
to
over
have.
there said 2 teeth.
You had to have at least 3 teeth, 2 opposing 1. Could be top or bottom, but you had to have at least 3 teeth. How many people went out the weeks before and to be a frontline soldier, you had to have 3 teeth. Now, does this look like something everybody could do so far? Yeah. Well, think about what's going on right now. You could be standing on this battlefield in this line. Bullets could be flying past your head. Cannonballs could be going by you. The smoke would be so thick in front of you that you might not even be able to see from me to Larry over there. And you had to stand here calmly load this thing. People could be falling out in pain around you, your brothers, your father in this line with you, your son. Everybody from your whole hometown could be in this line with you. You had to stand here and calmly load this thing. Now you could still do this because your life depended on it, and so did everybody else in this line. But you know there were a lot of knees shaking and just a lot of emotions going on right now. So in the bottom of the cartridge, you have the actual bullet. For obvious reasons, we don't fire real bullets inside of brick forts, especially with the public in them. So we use a simulated bullet made out of toilet paper. This will give a whole new meaning to 3 sheets in the wind in just a second. You'll see it's just a simulated bullet. Okay. So we put the bullet up here. We have to draw the rammer. Drawing this up over our shoulders, not to poke somebody in the eye beside you. You have to put this over your shoulder. Ram that bullet down. And the turning rammer, that slot using your little finger to seat that rod back in the gun. Why would you use your little finger? These battles, were they that formal?
You don't want to blow your fingers off.
That's right. Think about what we've done. We just loaded this gun, poured gunpowder down this barrel. We pressed a bullet down on top of it. Murphy's Law, if this thing's going off, it's going to be with your hand right here over the top of this barrel. If it goes off, you lose your hand. If it goes off with your little finger over top of it, you might lose it, but you still have your trigger finger to carry on. So, 8th step will be to prime, at which time we stand here and pull this hammer back to half cock. You've probably heard the saying, don't go off half cock. That's where that originated. You reach in a separate pouch and pull out a small brass percussion cap, place it on the cone of the weapon like that. The way this works is very simple. When you pull the hammer back all the way, pull the trigger, it falls on that cap, it sends a spark to the gunpowder, igniting it, pushing the bullet out the top. Now we completed 8 out of the 9 steps. What's the 9th step? The 9th step is to shoulder arms. Because when we started this process, we were given the command to load. That's right. Until we're given the command to fire, we are to stand at attention. The enemy could be firing at us, advancing towards us. We're to stand at attention until we are given the command to fire. Then we may be given the command to load and fire at will, which time we can load and fire as fast as we can. As long as that took me, how long do you think it would take a well-trained soldier to load and fire this? A minute? About 20 seconds, 3 times a minute. But think about what's going on around you, the noise, the smoke, all the confusion. Okay? You think sometimes this wouldn't go off. You're just carrying gunpowder in a leather pouch. It could get wet. You think it may not go off? There's cases where they don't go off. Soldiers not loaded again, not realizing that it didn't go off, and loaded again, just panicking. So there's a lot of things going on right now. Okay, we will fire this if everything's clear. Okay. Everybody ready? Ready. Aim.
My God.
Okay. Now that was one shot. Imagine thousands of these weapons going off. Imagine these cannons going off around you. We didn't have hearing protection, things of that nature back then. You see a lot of the old movies, and you see a senior citizen in there with a horn in his ear going, He was probably a Civil War veteran. The largest cannon at Fort Macon was a 10-inch Columbiad that fired those 127-pound cannonballs. It sat on the top of that stairway, and it used 18 pounds of gunpowder to fire that cannonball. So you can imagine when that thing went off, it must have rattled every window, brick in this fort. So there was a lot going on back then. One last thing before I let you go, and then I'll be around out here for a few minutes if you want to come up and have any questions. If you are walking around the fort, just be very careful because it's a cultural site, historic site. We don't have guardrails in place all around this fort. There are uneven steps, flooring, and so on, so just be very careful. If you're going up and down the steps, just hold on to the rails and be cautious, okay? Other than that, thank you for coming out. I hope you have a good time. Enjoy it.